All right, everyone. The other day there was a dust-up with Jeromepowell, the head of the Federal Reserve, questioned by the legacy media, of course. This was not prompted by anything that Donald Trump himself said. It's the legacy media trying to start problems as usual. Asked about whether, Trump would, potentially fire him or something like that. And he's like, well, Trump can't fire me. And I'm not resigning. I'm not going anywhere. Fundamentally, he is correct. I hate to tell some people out there that are well-wishers, but the head of the Fed cannot be unilaterally sacked by the chief executive of the United States. The president does not have that authority. Jeromepowell, under that premise, is fundamentally correct, although the concept that Trump really is interested in firing him anyway takes a second seat to the real issue, which is something that's been brought up for years and years and years. The time has come to audit the Fed. Now, I would say just end the Federal Reserve, just to get rid of the concept altogether. Take up a Jacksonian policy and eliminate central banking and deregulate, defortify, give people back their fucking money and let them manage it, because I trust the average person more than a bureaucrat to manage their money, because the bureaucrat is always, taking 5% off the top, and it's probably a conservative estimate, pun intended. Now, it's time to audit the Fed. When you've got it's not a bureau or anything. You've got the Doge concept by Elon Musk, and Ron Paul has signed off on this. They both seem interested and intrigued by the same concept. Now, Ron Paul's big thing back during the Ron Paul revolution, talking 2012, was more end the Fed. And you could do this. There are methodologies by which you could simply eliminate the middleman altogether. A softer approach would be simply auditing them. Make life miserable for the people in the Fed that aren't doing a good job. Look into their finances, look into their internal communications, look into the methodology with which they're very uncarefully managing interest rates and so forth, and the hope is that some of the more corrupt officials will self-deport. To use a colloquial terminology, they'll self-deport from the Federal Reserve and you get a better outcome. And I think that it's time to audit them. And Jeromepowell is perhaps somewhat unwise to effectively answer the ponderings of Donald Trump with effectively what amounts to an I won't do what you tell me sort of thing. It doesn't go over well for people that do that to Donald Trump. Typically, it doesn't work out. And so Jeromepowell may end up on his way out. Now, he can't be fired, and he states that he won't resign. Is that latter point actually true? We have to wait and see. Of course, if he's being audited and being stymied and being able to do anything, and the people at the Fed start grumbling about it, Jeromepowell might be told very politely, hey, maybe it's time to go and retire. Maybe it's time to go and work for a mega bank or something like that. They'd love to have you aboard. And become ambassador to Uruguay or something like that, maybe. The time has come to audit them. I think that Ron Paul should be put literally in charge of this process, by the way. Get Ron Paul in there. I do not agree with every financial take that he has. For example, returning to the gold standard is a terrible idea. For many, many reasons. I've already explained those. I can get into them in brief here, but first I wanted to make this point. Ron Paul has been at the very spearhead of this effort for a very long time. As a Reaganite, quasi-populist, quasi-libertarian, Ron Paul is perhaps the most well-equipped to do this. And if he's in partnership with people like Musk, with a great deal of legal capabilities, a lot of money and so forth, the resources would be there probably to audit the Fed, get that ball rolling very quickly. You'll need to plan ahead, though. It's like the other day when I made my video on what Trump should do in his first 100 days. There are some things you can do right away. Pardon the nonviolent J6ers. You can have a roundup of all the charges against them, the evidence, ponder it, and decide yay or nay you get pardoned. Well, you're serving for several years, and all you did was wander through the Capitol and take a couple selfies. Well, you get pardoned. But this person, was throwing bottles at the cops. Okay, maybe that's more tenuous in a legal sense. He should go through Ross Ulbricht. He should be pardoned. I would pardon Snowden on day one if I was him too. We'll wait and see whether he does. He seems partially convinced that Snowden is an espionage agent, so maybe. We'll wait and see. Assange and some of these others. There are things you can do very quickly. This is something that would require prior planning. The same with the deportation plan, building the wall, getting the money for that. I'm sure that Trump will accomplish that, by the way. He's already got the legal latitude to do so. Some of these things require more foresight, more planning. Get Musk and Ron Paul and some of these others. You'd probably delegate part of it to Don Jr. I think that he would be good for that role, or possibly Eric Trump. He seems to be more of the financial mind, whereas Don Jr. is more the charismatic type, if that makes sense. Get them involved, get them together, hold some meetings, and say, okay, step 1, 2, 3, and 4, how are we going to actually go about this? Because you're going to have to use a lot of legalese. It's going to require pragmatic planning, otherwise you will fail. You can't do it slipshod, not for something this major. But when Jeromepowell issues effectively a challenge to the incoming president of the United States, your job definitely is on the line. It doesn't matter if you want to retire. And it doesn't matter that Donald Trump can't outright fire you. What matters is that he can make things awfully goddamn difficult for the Federal Reserve. Of course, the Federal Reserve would probably react by trying to tank the economy. I have no doubt that in the next couple of years, you're going to see a sharp economic downturn in the United States. I don't doubt this at all. It'll be engineered by groups like the Fed, by big banksters and stuff that don't want Trump to break the toys, so they're seeking to decline his public mandate. That's it. They did this after Brexit in the UK, for example. It didn't work, but they tried it. I predicted that they would try that before Brexit happened. I'm predicting the same with the current socioeconomic situation in the United States. I believe that they're going to, in order to keep Trump from breaking the toys, they'll break their own toys, in other words. That's what I believe will happen. So just audit them. Go through everything with a fine-tooth comb. It'll take an enormous army of lawyers and accountants and multiple skilled individuals, but you got the best of the best. You got Ron Paul, you got Elon Musk, you get all these big brains and shit like that. Some of these, Ron Paul will do it for ideological reasons. Elon Musk will do it just for the shits and giggles. And then get some Trump nepotism on board, and a few disaffected, maybe former Fed officials or something, and you're right as rain. But you got to plan it first. So I would say audit the Fed, but do it carefully. Leave no stone unturned. Make sure that everything is lined up and ready to go, both in the legal sense and the actionable, the more pragmatic on the ground sense, before you take any steps whatsoever. Will this disgruntle some libertarian-leaning Trump voters? Yes, because they have no patience. People tend to be very impatient. That's the biggest failing of most human beings. But in the end, it'll work out much better. You'll get a better result. It's better for the people. It's better for literally everyone. And then just go fucking do it. That's about all. Peace out.